the answer to the question up here is not the idea worth sharing per se, but I do hope that after I explain to you the process, or sort of an outline of the process I went through to find the answer to this question, you do care about the details of the answer to this and other similar economic questions. So the first subject that I formally studied at university was physics, and I had to drop it, but probably not for the reason that you think. So after some time passed, then I got involved in the study of economics, and part of me was dreading it. In fact, I was looking more forward to having my teeth pulled than I was to studying economics. And those of you out there who are scientists can probably relate to that feeling, because essentially you're going from a background of objectivity to a field of subjectivity. So one of the fundamental topics of study in economics is called principles of micro and macroeconomics. And so as I'm going along in the text for this subject, I had this sort of deja vu experience. And so I find out that all these equations that I'm coming across in this subject are from physics. So in fact, if you want to think about it like this, it's like this is probably the most serious case of academic plagiarism you could have, because essentially you have one discipline, economics, copying everything that the physicists produce, but just renaming it with the labels appropriate for economics. But at first, I felt the dread that I was experiencing about studying economics was replaced by relief, because I had dropped physics, but physics was not going to drop me. So, in fact, it actually is helpful if you actually want to learn about physics and you're having trouble learning it. It's actually helpful to study economics because the equations and things are phrased in terms of people. So essentially what economics is study people by understanding them as particles moving around according to the laws of physics. Okay, so after I was feeling relief, all of a sudden then I started to feel horror at this thought because if people are being studied as particles, how did this happen? What did it start? What are the implications that it's having for how we organize our lives? So after my jaw dropped to the floor, and after I picked it up off the floor, I started exploring more about how this happened. What's the history of this and what the implications are. So I found out that it started in Europe. So in about 1700 was a time when the scientific method really started taking a hold of the way scholars wanted to understand the world. And they were doing it in the context of physics, sciences like physics and chemistry and biology. But then the scholars got the idea, why don't we try to study people scientifically? And and this primarily happened in the northwestern part of Europe. But it didn't, so this is when money went from being a medium of exchange to being a tool for measuring people. Now, at first, it didn't affect the way people functioned because it just stayed within the confines of the university. But what happened is, once this model came over to the United States, then the people started actually trying to get people in their businesses to actually function this way. And then, of course, after that, it got spread around the rest of the world. So let me just, actually, that's where I think I'm going to stop. That's about all I can